So without further ado, tonight I'm delighted to introduce Armando Lucas Correa to discuss In Search of Emma with us. Armando Lucas Correa is an award-winning Cuban writer, journalist, and editor. He is the recipient of several awards from the National Association of Hispanic Publications and the Society of Professional Journalism. He is the author of the international bestseller, The German Girl, which is now being published in 13 languages. His latest book, which is now available in English for the first time, In Search of Emma, is the story of Correa's journey to fatherhood. Tonight, we also have Annie Philbrick. Annie is the owner of Bank Square Books, Savoy Bookshop and Cafe, and Title IX, a bookstore. She also serves on the board of the Book Industry Charitable Fund and is an all-around book lover and avid reader. Armando and Annie will speak for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll open it up to your questions that have been submitted through the Q&A button. And now the panelists are on screen. I'll turn off my mic and I will turn the event over to them.
Thanks, Liv. Hi, Armando.
Hello. I'm so happy to present my book In Search of Emma today with you. I love you.
Well, I love you too. And I'm your, what do you call me? Your Hades Maria.
Yeah.
I didn't pronounce that right, but Joanna said that to me the other day. Yeah, that's cool. So go ahead.
Who was the first one who read The German Girl?
I know. So just for the audience, if anyone who's watching, I just want to give you a little history of my friendship with Armando. We went to Cuba together with the Publishers Weekly, I think 2016, I think 2015, 2016. And we were very delayed in leaving from New York because the head of the Russian Orthodox Church was meeting with Castro, I think, and we were just delayed and no one knew what was going on, and going to Cuba was this big deal. But what I didn't realize is that what a big deal it was for Armando, who left Cuba when you were like 18, 17?
Older.
Well, left Cuba as a young man and went to the United States. And I'll be quiet. And this was the first time he had been back to Cuba. And so for all of us also, I had been to Cuba in 2009, but I remember staying in the airport, arriving in Havana, which is an experience in itself, especially 5 or 6 years ago. And Armando was like, it's the first time I've been here. And then anyway, we ended up at a restaurant at like midnight to have dinner. And they served us all these mojitos. And I was sitting next to Armando and he's like, these are not the real mojitos. Let me get you something else to drink. And so out came this rum that Armando found for me. And at midnight, after waiting for hours in New York, it was so delicious. But then the real thing is that Armando said to me that night, he said, in your humility and your humble way of being and your quiet way of being, said, I've written this book and I think you might like it. And it was A German Girl. And I loved it. And it was great. So that was the start of our friendship, with my friendship and our friendship together. And so, and also Ben, my husband, says hello. I think you've been to our house and done this. So Armando, for the In Search of Emma, I mean, I knew, getting to know you, I knew you had children. I knew you had, is it Gonzalo? As a partner. I knew leaving Cuba was partially because you guys were gay and you couldn't do that in Cuba. But give us a little bit of background about how this came about. I know it's in your book, but I'd love to hear it from you personally.
In Search of Emma, I think is my most personal book, and one I never thought I'd write. I remember that an editor at HarperCollins came to my office at People en Español. For the people doesn't know, I am the editor-in-chief of People en Español. It's the Spanish version of the People magazine. And I thought he was interested in publishing a book about legendary Hispanic celebrities. But he actually wanted to talk me into writing a book about how I had my daughter via surrogacy. I was shocked, Annie, when he said that, because I usually don't speak or write about my personal life. And
right. No, you're very private.
Yeah, and it took a while to convince me, but I agreed to do it because when I went over overall notes I've been keeping throughout the process, I discovered I had extensive record of conversation I had with my family. I've been with Gonzalo for 30 years now. When Cuba, we met after college. Uh, we moved to Miami. I started working at the Herald as a reporter. 3 years later, I bought my first house. We have a backyard, small backyard, and I said to him, I want to have a child. I want to get it. We're never gonna be able to adopt a child in it was Florida, and we're talking about 1998, 1990.
Yeah, no, there's no way. Yeah,
I
because it wasn't legal. I mean, surrogacy in a lot of states is not legal, correct?
I didn't know that. I started writing emails to agencies in Ukraine, China, Guatemala, Latin America, and then I realized that it was illegal. Right now, same-sex couple, let me be clear, can now adopt children in all 50 states, but we're talking about 1999.
Right.
1997, I think it was. And then we moved to New York because they opened People en Español, and I read an article in People magazine before going to print about a gay dad, a gay man that he became father via surrogacy and an egg donor. And I said to Gonzalo, I think this is our way. But when we read the article, it was around $70,000, in our
right.
make a lot of money. And we just bought an apartment in New York. And I said, Gonzalo, if we have to sell the apartment, we're going to sell the apartment. I talked to a lot of agencies, and I remain, I signed the first contract with the agency in 1999, and I had Emma in 2005.
Wow. So Emma, tell us a little bit about, if you can, about the whole process and her birth mother. And then what really struck me in the book is, I think when Emma was 3 or 3, you were talking about who all the family was, and she wanted to know about your mother, her aunt, Gonzalo's mother, and then she finally said, like, well, who's my mother?
Exactly.
And you both just froze and said, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. So I have another question after that, but so give us just a little bit of background about that.
I remember we were going to Disney in our car with my mother, and I was sitting, Gonzalo was driving, and I was with Emma in the back. And then we were talking about Gonzalo's mother in Cuba. Then she said, who's my mother? And my mother almost had a heart attack. I remember her like, everyone was quiet. And after a couple of minutes, I said, okay, Emma, you have two dads. Some family has one mother, one dad, somebody, some of them, they don't have fathers or mother. And she said, I want to have a mom. Okay, you want me that the abuelita can, my mother, your mother? I said, no, she's my grandma and she loved my mother. No. And then my sister can be your mother. No, she's my aunt. We were the woman in the family. And then you said, Mary, the surrogate mother, she can be your mother too, because, we have a great relationship with Mary. We travel a lot to San Diego. We have all my children in San Diego. And then she said, no. And then I create this small book with, it was called In Search of Emma. With all the pictures. And I explained, the travel to San Diego, meeting Mary, meeting the egg donor, the day she was born. And I remember her saying every night, please read the book In Search of Emma. No? And that was her favorite book for a couple of years. And, I cry for it, for everything. And I remember.
So do I, Armando. It's okay. We were there together. We get it.
The first day she said that, oh my God, I was crying and telling Gonzalo. And then when we have the twins, we have to create In Search of Anna and In Search of Luca. And that's my recommendation with everybody creating this kind of, adult kids with the truth, it's easier. It's easier, and it's easier for them to understand, and they know their process. And I remember I have an anecdote when she was in kindergarten. She was 5, and we picked her up. And I remember we left her in the after classes, piano classes.
Mhm.
One boy said to her, "Oh my God, you have to that? If you had to that, you have to be adopted. You know, you are an adopted girl."
Oh boy.
Then she came to us and said, "I am adopted." He said, "Don't you know how you were created?" And the next day, we went to the school, we picked her up, and the teacher, it was pale. And she said to us, Emma, that, she's very shy. She never talked in the classroom. At the end of the class, she said, "I want to explain something. I am adopted. I have two dads." And she's playing a word, using her hand. My dad put a word in a plate, and the egg donor said the name. And this is private. She never can say the name. An egg. And the doctor with a spoon, he removed both of them, he mixed them, and then we create an embryo, and we put the embryo, three embryo, uh, and we
Right.
put three embryos inside Mary, and one of them is me. Then
Oh, wow.
and we were in shock, but this is the reason that it's always better to tell the truth to the kid.
Right. Oh, but she has to write her own book someday.
Yeah,
It's interesting, I have a friend who took in his niece when she was 2, which was like 5 years ago, because his brother was a heroin addict. And anyway, he rescued this niece and went up to get her in upstate New York, and just last week was able to adopt her. But the story, like with Emma, he and his partner husband were at a show in New York or something, and it was like, I can't remember, Little Mermaid, some show. And the little girl was sitting, and this other little girl turned to her and it says, "Well, I'm here with my mom and dad." And this little girl said, "Well, I'm here with my 2 uncles." And it was just like, so it was like, she just like, poof, I don't care what you have to say. So anyway, but that's, so one of the other question I want to ask is like, so Emma asked you all these questions. And so you have 2 more children, Anna and Lucas, I think, who are twins. Is that right?
They're gonna be 12 in December.
Yeah. So have they asked that question, or did Emma tell them, or but they know, do they know? I mean, because
yeah, they know it. And Emma, when Emma was like 2 years old, she said, "I want to have a brother or sister."
right.
And Gonzalo said, "No way," because
He's like, "No, I'm done."
we're dealing with unknown people, with lawyers, spending a lot of money. And then I said to him, "We have a couple of embryos frozen. We're paying for storage at the clinic. Let's try.
Yeah.
Don't have any accident. We have the kid. We have accident. Forget it." And she's gonna understand. And then we did the transfer. Well, we called the surrogate, and she said, "Oh yes, I'm gonna do it again for you guys."
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have Mary, and then we can do it. And then we did the transfer, and they said, "Well, you have a positive pregnancy." When they do the first ultrasound, I remember I went in the doctor's office. He's doing I have my camera ready, everything ready. And he said, "I think I see a heartbeat here. Let's say heartbeat A, and there is a heartbeat B." I didn't took any pictures. I was, and then I called my family. And when Mary said, "Baby A is a girl," I said, "Oh my God, baby B has to be a boy." It was seconds, and we were happy. And now, we create this in say one in search of Anna, in search of Lucas, and they know. And every time that we travel to San Diego, we visit Mary. And when the movie was in Spanish first, we did a lot of tour in national television, and Mary was invited. And we have, they know their story.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to confront some kids. Kids can be terrible.
Yeah, kids can be tough. Kids can be tough when they ask the hard questions.
I remember when Anna was like 7, I think, I put all the questions that they receive in life in part of the book. And I said, in the book, I said, "Okay, you are going to be questioned because of this, the other thing." And one of them, we have a house of say. We invited a couple of, friends. They're sexual. They have a boy. And the boy said to Anna, that if I have to that, I prefer die, you know, or kill myself, he said. And, you know, for her, it was, he's crazy. It's your problem. This is not my problem. Then 2 nights later, during dinner, she said that to us. And yeah, you know, Gonzalo started, I'm gonna call them. They're never gonna call. They said, Gonzalo, they have to learn and have to deal with all these issues.
Right, right.
Traumatized or nightmares, and then we have to find therapy. But in this case, Anna said, this is your problem. I don't have that kind of problem.
Right, right. This is your problem. That's your problem. That's
I
problem.
was very proud of her when she said, no, that's his problem. It's not my problem. Yeah.
So is a lot of your family in the United States now? Or
Right.
have you taken the kids? You haven't taken the kids to Cuba, have you yet?
No,
Not yet.
remember, because I'm a journalist, it's really hard for me to get
No, no. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I know some days we're gonna take, you know, travel together, but you remember the last time that I went with the
Yeah.
book, they banned
Oh,
it.
they took your books. They wouldn't let you have the books. And you went to the synagogue.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember walking around Cuba trying to figure out what this word was for synagogue. Synagogue, I couldn't find it, and then I finally found it. But yeah, no, they wouldn't let your books come in. Yeah, it was terrible.
And then, you know, for me, I dream traveling with them to Cuba.
Yeah.
And we love to travel. We travel around the world, Japan, China, Turkey.
Yeah, you do.
And for me, you know, Cuba is gonna be, they always asking, we're gonna go to Cuba.
Yeah.
And Emma right now is gonna be 16 in November, and she's in high school, she's in junior high school, and she did the pre-SAT or something like that. And when they
Yes,
asked,
yep.
okay, she's Latina, and she said, when they asked from where, she said Cuban. And they, okay, you know, I'm happy that you said you are Cuban. You know, when because you're bilingual, you know, of course, they're English dominant.
Right.
He reads in English, but, you know, they know that they're half Cuban in a way.
No, they are. So is your mother and all your sisters and everyone in the United States? So
Yeah.
who's back? Who's still in Cuba?
Father, yeah, my
Father, right.
My father, you know, divorced my mother when I was like 2.5 years
Right.
old, and that's what I think I explained in the book. It was my obsession to become a father because I grew up without his
Right.
presence.
Right.
I want to be very clear because he's an excellent dad to his daughters, you know, with the new marriage.
Right.
And they married, you know, my mother when they were in their 20s. We're talking about.
Right.
And then during those years, you know, my father wanted my mother to stay at home taking care of the children, but she went to an American school in Guantanamo. She was the first of the class, and she wants to be an engineer. And then they divorced, and we moved to Havana, and she became a very successful engineer. And she's 81, and she's still working in Miami. And I grew up with a strong woman in my family: my grandmother, my mother, my sister, my aunt. And he's a great guy, you know. I invited him to.
You saw him when we were there in 2016, I think, right? You saw your whole father's whole family. Yeah, for the first time. Yeah.
Right now he's 87. I invited him twice to come here, and we have a couple of pictures with Emma. Now he's really old, and it's hard for him to travel, but you know, he has a presence. Sometimes we call him, and the kids can listen to him. You know.
Well, hopefully someday your kids will be able to go there, to go to Cuba, and because I learned so much of just being with you in Cuba, and you took us to the art space. I learned so much history about what it was like for you. And also in reading The German Girl, after being with you in Cuba, I remember walking around those neighborhoods, and I could just see you as a young boy. Seriously, I'm not making this up, Armando, of walking around the neighborhoods, just I feel like I got to know you by walking through the houses and the yards, and how you described it to me, and how I can't remember the young woman's name in The German Girl. What was her name? Yeah. So it's just
the second one in Cuba. I don't remember that. You said you think it was me, you know, the Cuban guy.
It was you, but there was a young girl who got off the ship, and The German Girl. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But just learning so much. I mean, I think Cuba is fascinating. But there was a question in the chat, Armando, that when the audience was there a story that you wanted perhaps to put in Search of Emma in the book that you left out for any reason?
It's the other way. When I wrote the In Search of Emma in Spanish, I avoided to put something too personal, and it's going to be her, my mother. And I decided when I was, editing the translation, that I need something personal there, that it was very, and it was, my mother is reading the book right now. She started this afternoon.
In Spanish? In Spanish?
Spanish.
In Spanish.
We have it right now. It's a new edition in Spanish. It's the first time. And it's a new edition.
Right. Yeah. So just so the first one was published in 2009 in Spanish, right? Correct. And so this is a new revised edition in English, right?
And then I did a new introduction and a new end. We have a couple of letters from the family to the 3 kids because we didn't have Anna and Lucas.
You do in the back. I love that. I mean, that's such a memory and for the kids to have.
No, Johanna is my agent. No?
Yeah. Johanna was also with us in Cuba.
All the letters, Johanna didn't want the letters at the end. And I said, if you don't want to read it, don't read it. But I think this is like because this book is about creating a family. And I think letter to my kids, they're special. Well, I want to keep them, and a lot of people said that I'm fine. But then I added this anecdote about that I think I was like 12 years old, and my grandfather, from my mother's side, he was very special to me. I learned a lot from him, and I think I am like I am because of him. But when I was like 12 years old, we were talking, and he said to me, it's better to be a criminal. It's better to be a thief than be a gay.
So do you think your uncle was gay?
No, it was my grandpa.
He just was giving you that freedom.
He thought that I was, maybe he doesn't see me like a strong boy. You know what I mean? Maybe he's something in me. He said, and he used a really bad word for gay. I said, I prefer, sometimes he talked to me in the general way, but I cry. My life was like, the end at that moment. And I never said anything to the family. It was like a secret for me because I was in shame. It was shameful. And when I was writing the introduction, talking about the importance for me to become a father, I decided to add this story at the beginning. My mother is reading right now, and I know it's gonna be hard for her because he's a very important person in the family. I understand. I still love him, and I understand. This is another times. We're talking about the 80s maybe or late.
Or before, yeah.
And
in Cuba as a country just didn't accept gay people whatsoever.
During the 60s and 70s, if you are gay, you went to a concentration camp. They created.
Yeah. I just can't. I
understand that for him it has to be. If you have someone in your family, it's like a shame. It's something terrible. I understand.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, there was also the influence from the Soviet Union then in Cuba at that time, I think, and it was just, they just can't, certain countries just couldn't accept it. I mean, the United States even had a hard time accepting it, but they.
For me, because thinking of right now, this is the same age like my son.
Yes.
Anna, I was all my. I can be destroyed if I know that someone said that kind of thing to my son.
Exactly. No, exactly, Armando. And
the impact right now is stronger because of that, I think.
Yeah. And I don't think we know the impact we learn during it and perhaps after of how much impact we have as parents on our children. And yes, and if we have been treated differently by our parents, we hope that we are not going to treat our children the same way. like you were talking about Lucas, it's just like, whoever he wants to be, whatever it's okay. And that you've learned that from your experience, and that's, and you've opened your life, and I mean, you've opened your life so much to your children. And I think that's just so admirable, and just even admirable is not even the right word. It's just so loving.
Yeah. And every time that I talk right now about, the book and that we are to that, some people from the audience ask me, what about homophobic and, racism because I am Latino. And for me, Annie, believe me, if they have a problem or someone has a problem, it's their problem,
Exactly. No, exactly.
For me, I am not a victim, I came to this country, I have to reinvent myself, I have to study, I have to make it a career, I create my family, and I doing my best, and
Well, Armando, you've done so well. I mean, I remember when I wrote you the email about the German girl, when I read the German girl, and you were in some photo shoot in Mexico City.
I remember
And
that.
you were like, I just had to go in a room and read this because it's the first book I wrote. But I just loved it. And that your email just meant so much to me. It was like, here's a person who has so much feeling and so much care. And, and so to learn about your family and in Search of Emma is just like, anyway, as a friend, it brings me closer to you. But I think I hope that you have opened up a world to other Latinx or other gay people. I don't know. I mean, a world that is possible for people who are not in what the world calls a traditional marriage, which I'm so sick of, but to be able to have children and complete their family and marry. I mean, I'm so happy that you found her and it all worked, and she was able to give you these 3 children with love.
Yeah. And remember something, even I know we have a lot of accident, but even to get a surrogate mother and a donor for gay couple is hard. Most of the surrogate mother, they don't want to work with the gay couples. And I remember when we signed at the agency, we have a couple of surrogate available, and one of them sent me an email, and I am very sensitive with the word, and words for me, they're important. And she said to me, she's white and she was married to a black guy, and she has a daughter, biracial, and never is gonna reject someone because it looks or act different, and she doesn't want that to her daughter, and she's open to work with us, and she won our hat immediately. And she has been only surrogate to us, and we are really appreciate that, because you can find in a bank tons, million of egg,
Right.
mother is really hard.
I mean, I say right, I have no idea, but there we are. So it's fine.
Yeah, and they have to be with you for a couple of years with all the process, the interview, the testing.
Which is expensive and a huge ordeal to go through. I mean, and so stressful. I mean, I've had people who work for me and friends who have gone through IVF and all this other stuff, but they're in their traditional marriage. It's not, I can't imagine the barriers that you had, Armando, and the challenges that you and Gonzalez had to do.
Question, I think, about what do you hope this book means for young people, and especially young gay Cubans?
Right.
And my philosophy, and I know everybody is different, and I came from a generation, let's say that way, but we never came out, because you have to private in Cuba, because if not, you can end up in jail. And then I think my family knew that I was gay, because I started my relationship with Gonzalo when we finished college. But be yourself, And I think this is the main message. When I was writing the book, I have to ask permission here in People in Español in the company, because, you know, I am the spokesperson for the magazine, and I work,
Right.
you know, we have 7 million readers every month, and 68% or 70% they're Mexican. They're very conservative, they're Catholic, and, you know, maybe it's going to be a problem. I said to
Well,
my,
is there going to be an excerpt of the book in People Magazine in Espanol?
no, I don't think so. No, but you know, I promoted the book in national TV. I have to promote it. And then my boss, she's very clever, you know, she was my mentor. She said, Armando, this is your story, and it's important story that you have to, you know, have and show your life. And for me, you know, the main message is, if you go to my apartment, you're gonna see tons of plastic toys, and you know, it's a mess with the children doing the homework, trying to find the right school, taking to the doctors, and you know, it's like
And you did Zoom, you did virtual school with 3 kids. I can't imagine anybody doing it. Thank God. I said to my husband, this has been, I'm so glad our children are not here, because I don't know if we would get through this.
I have to stay here at my office in Manhattan, because if I'm doing at home, you're gonna, you know, we have a dog, a cat, the animal, and it's like a regular family. My family is like your family. What is
Yeah, you're a family. You are a family, Armando. You are family.
I know, but you know, what is the most important for a parent? That your children have to be, you know, good human beings. You hope that, and be safe and be healthy and go to the best school that you can afford, or trying to, you know, be independent. For me is important.
So do you think, just to get back to the question the audience had asked about your book and the gay community in Cuba, when you were young as a teenager or in college, was there an underground sort of, or I'm not sure that's the right word, but gay community in Cuba? And do you think that still exists?
No, right now there is a gay community. We can say that. I think if you are gay, for them it's about the mind right now.
Yeah.
The government, you can think different, but you can be gay. If you are revolutionary, if you are with the government, you can survive there. Right now, this is the reality. Even though this is a Caribbean country with a, you know, marriage is not allowed there. You know, there is a lot of things. You don't have any.
Right.
Because the homophobic is, I think, is in part of the DNA.
Yeah.
And if the government always was against you, even now that they have, you know, accept everybody, it's difficult.
Well, I was going to ask an impossible question. Like I was going to say, do you think that will ever change? But that's an impossible question. So I'm not even going to just skip that. It's government's too complicated. Our government, their government, it's way too complicated.
Governments, they are complicated.
No. I know. I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even, it was just what I was thinking. But so are you working on anything else? Or do you have another?
Right now, I spend my whole day. This is my vacation week. And I do it because
wow. Okay.
I finished my 3rd novel, The Night Traveler. And I working right now. My editor is Peter Borland and Adria. I don't know. And he did like a light editing, you know, a very deep edition. Like I love it, but it's a lot of work. I have to create a new chapter, and hopefully we're going to have the book in fall 2022. You know,
can you just give us a brief synopsis of what The Night Traveler is about?
I think I'm closing this World War II, and this is an idea that I have since the beginning, even writing The German Girl. And it's about a poet, you know, a writer. She's white, she's German, and she had a girl with a black German, and then he died, and she's living by herself with the daughter, writing poems. And one of the poems is about the night traveler. And she said that at night, everybody has the same color, and everything around their life has to be at night. And then in 1939, if you are biracial, you know, if you are German and you have some kind of different blood, not Jewish, it had to be black. You have to be sterilized if you are 7 years old. And the sterilization is with X-rays. With the boy, it was, the regular, I don't know how you call when you cut the conduct in the boy, but with
Eunuchs. Well, I don't know. They used to call it eunuchs. I'm not sure that's what they're.
there is another
Somebody else goes.
vasectomy, I think is called. And then for the girl, it was X-ray.
Caster. Oh, yeah, whatever. Okay,
And
whatever.
the girl, they have to, and it was terrible because with X-ray you can die if you are too exposed. Then the only people getting a permit of leaving Germany and visas to another country was the Jewish, and she sent the daughter to Cuba with this Jewish couple. Then it's the story around her, and then it's a long story about eugenic and yeah.
So just very quickly, Armando, because Liv has come back on, but how do you do your research for that?
Oh, I love, I travel a lot. I read a lot. I bought a lot of, if you go to my house, I have like a small museum about the St. Louis, and I have postcard plate marked original, the diary from the captain. I have a lot of stuff. Right now I have.
You find me that research, because when we went to the synagogue in Havana, there was a lot of that there on the walls and stuff.
I
So
think half of my collection that I have to them, and with original document even.
Yeah.
But I love buying, original books, and I have a passport from a Jewish family living in Germany. This is the new thing that I bought. And I bought the book that German used from eugenic. And by the way, Hitler was inspired in the eugenic, it's the site that was created by a doctor in Pasadena, California during the 20s. And it was like his Bible to all this racial law that he created in 1937. He was inspired in this doctor from Pasadena, California, because eugenic, they killed over 60,000 people during the 50s and 40s in the United States. Yeah. Because they were imperfect.
So do you think you and I will ever get back to Cuba again?
Hopefully, yeah, we can go if they let me go. If we get I'm happy to.
I went back after our trip. I went back on the next trip when I went to Cienfuegos, and I went. Yeah, it was different. It was a couple of years after we went, and it was not the same. It was just more touristy, and this is before our president shut it down. But
I love going, like we went with Kevin from Publisher Weekly.
Yeah.
It was a great group, I think. I love to go that way too. Maybe Kevin.
Maybe so. I flew home from Cienfuegos on American Airlines, and there were like 5 people on the plane. So that was the last time I was there. But anyway. But Armando, you're adorable. Thank you so much. And I think this is just such an amazing book about your search for a family and creating a family with Gonzalo and Emma and Lucas and Anna. I am so happy for you, and so admirable, admire you so much that you persevered to make this happen. So congratulations. And I hope that backyard someday in Woodstock, and I know it's all filled up now with your children and your husband and your family. And I just think that is absolutely fabulous. And I mean that from my heart.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe, I love to present the Night Traveler next year for.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Send it to me. I'll read it. I'll be in conversation with you again. Hopefully that will be in person.
Yeah, you have to talk to Wendy, because I think you have to read the first draft, and you know how to read drafts, and
Wendy Sheenan, right?
Yeah.
No, she's one of my friends. I'll ask her for it. I'll get it.
The first pass of the book is going to be ready before Thanksgiving. You have to be the first reader.
Okay, I'm going to email her right after we finish this, and I'm going to say I want the first draft. I got to read it.
Well, I'm glad we solidified that. Glad plans are being made. Well, wow, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much to Armando and to Annie. just for spending a wonderful evening with us. To everyone at home watching, for tuning in. That was just a really amazing conversation. It was an absolute pleasure to listen to, and just very enjoyable because it was very personal. And I think it was only enriched by your friendship and stories. So thank you.
Well, we
both
spent a
to
long
Armando.
time together on the plane, and the airport, and in the restaurant at midnight, and we were just we became very close friends.
Annie was with a lot of friends there. I didn't know anybody. For me and I am a little shy. I
Well,
sat.
this is the first time you've been to Cuba since you left, and I once I realized that I took care of you.
Annie know everybody there.
Again, so again, to everyone watching, In Search of Emma is available through our website as well as in store. And thank you everyone again, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, Armando. Bye. Thanks, Liv. All right. See you later.
Thank you.